In 1996, Monsanto registered a glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, as an antibiotic, not a pesticide, an antibiotic. That classification is sitting in a federal patent document that almost nobody has read, and the fix for what it is doing to your gut costs under $2. It has been sitting in grocery store refrigerators for over 100 years. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear permanently changes how you read every food label for the rest of your life. 80% of Americans have measurable glyphosate in their urine right now. That is not a hypothesis. That is CDC data from a 2022 National Biomonitoring report. Independent laboratory tests, commissioned by the Environmental Working Group, found glyphosate in 43 of 45 oat-based products they tested. One sample registered nearly 18 times above the children's health benchmark. Not twice, not 5 times, 18 times. The reason those numbers are that high is not accidental contamination. It is intentional agricultural practice. Conventional wheat and oat farmers apply glyphosate directly to their crops in the final 7 to 10 days before harvest, a practice called pre-harvest desiccation. The herbicide dries the grain uniformly, accelerating harvest timing and reducing equipment wear. The grain absorbs it at peak concentration and moves directly into the food supply. The practice is legal, industry standard, and specifically applied to the crops that appear most frequently in the American diet. The products flagged in the Environmental Working Group tests include some of the most trusted names in the American breakfast aisle. Oatmeal brands carrying health certifications, granola bars marketed specifically to children, cereals sold in every grocery chain in the country, products that parents choose because the packaging communicates safety, products that pass every regulatory threshold the EPA has set. And here is the part that Bayer, the company that acquired Monsanto for $63 billion in 2018, has a specific financial reason for you to never connect. Think of your gut as a factory. That factory runs on roughly 38 trillion microbial workers, bacteria that digest your food, regulate your immune response, and produce the compounds your brain uses to manage mood and inflammation. Among those workers are specific strains, Lactobacillus, Bifidobacterium, Akkermansia, that your immune system relies on to distinguish a pathogen from a nutrient, maintain the integrity of your intestinal lining, and produce the short-chained fatty acids that fuel your colon's own cells. When the factory runs correctly, you do not notice it. Your body just works. Glyphosate is a broad-spectrum antibiotic. That is not a metaphor. That is the mechanism it was patented on. When you consume it through your oats, your bread, your morning cereal, it moves into your gut and does exactly what any antibiotic does. It kills bacteria, indiscriminately. The beneficial strains your immune system depends on are just as vulnerable as the harmful ones, in many cases more vulnerable because the protective strains are the most sensitive to antimicrobial disruption. The result is what researchers now call gut dysbiosis, a microbial imbalance the factory cannot self-correct once it crosses a threshold. Inflammation follows. Intestinal permeability follows, the condition where the tight junctions between intestinal wall cells begin to fail and undigested food particles enter the bloodstream, triggering systemic immune response. The factory is not shut down. It is running with half its workforce and no quality control. That is what is happening inside your body right now. And here is the part that Monsanto spent decades making sure you would never connect to the product they were selling you. In 2010, Monsanto filed U.S. Patent 7771736, specifically describing glyphosate's function as an antimicrobial agent. The EPA has maintained its position that glyphosate is not likely to be carcinogenic to humans through decades of regulatory review. Internal Monsanto documents released during litigation, documents the company fought for years to keep sealed, showed that their own scientists raised concerns about glyphosate's antimicrobial effects on gut bacteria as early as 2001. 15 years before the CDC confirmed measurable glyphosate in 80% of Americans. The glyphosate market was worth $8.3 billion globally in 2022. The global probiotic supplement market, the industry built on selling you back the gut health that the herbicide disrupted, was worth $61 billion in the same year. Reclassifying glyphosate as an antibiotic threat to human gut health would implicate one market and expose the business model of the other. The system did not fail. The system worked exactly as designed. The fix costs under $2 but per serving, and it has been available the entire time. Raw, unpasteurized sauerkraut, not the shelf-stable kind in the can, the refrigerated kind. Look for the word raw or unpasteurized on the label, or the phrase contains alive cultures. Brands like Bubby's are available in most major grocery chains. A standard jar runs between $6 and $9 and contains roughly 30 servings. That is under 30 cents per serving. Kefir works on the same mechanism and is available in the dairy section if fermented vegetables are harder to find in your area. The active ingredient in both is identical: live lactobacillus cultures in quantities high enough to recolonize disrupted gut terrain. Here's why it works. The lactobacillus strains in live culture sauerkraut use the same biological pathway that glyphosate targets in your gut bacteria, but they arrive in quantities large enough to rebuild what the herbicide has been thinning for years. Unlike your resident gut bacteria, which glyphosate has been progressively depleting through every bowl of oatmeal and every slice of conventional bread, the lactobacillus arriving in raw fermented food is fresh, viable, and in volume. You're not supplementing around the damage. You are directly addressing the mechanism. A single tablespoon per day is the threshold that Stanford's Human Food Project identified as sufficient for measurable microbial diversity improvement. Not a probiotic capsule at $40 a bottle, a tablespoon of cabbage. Here's exactly what to do. Go to the refrigerated section of any grocery store. Not the condiment aisle, the refrigerated section. Find sauerkraut with the word raw or unpasteurized on the label. Start with 1 tablespoon per day, taken with a meal and not on an empty stomach. The food buffers the acidity and improves bacterial survival through the stomach environment. After 2 weeks, increase to 2 tablespoons. The gradual increase matters. Moving too fast causes temporary bloating as the microbial balance shifts. Do not heat it. The live cultures are the entire mechanism. Adding it to hot food destroys the bacteria before they reach your gut. Keep it consistent. Research on gut microbiome restoration shows measurable diversity changes at the 6-week mark, not day 3. Give the factory time to rebuild its workforce. When it is working, you will notice it through absence rather than presence. Digestion becomes more regular. Bloating that you stopped registering as unusual begins to disappear. Afternoon energy stabilizes in a way that is difficult to attribute to any single cause until you trace it backward. None of it is dramatic. It is the quiet return of something your body was doing correctly before years of herbicide exposure quietly dismantled it. But here's the part I was not expecting. In 2021, a randomized controlled trial published in the journal Cell compared 2 dietary interventions over 10 weeks. One group ate a high-fiber diet, the intervention that virtually every gastroenterologist in the country recommends for gut health. The other group ate a high-fermented food diet. The high-fiber group showed no significant change in microbial diversity. The fermented food group showed measurable increases in 19 distinct microbial strains and a simultaneous significant decrease in 19 inflammatory proteins, including IL-6, IL-12P70, and IL-10. Those specific proteins are the markers most directly associated with metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular disease risk, and autoimmune inflammatory response. The researchers were from Stanford University's School of Medicine. They were not studying gut repair or herbicide damage. The fermented food result was not their hypothesis, it was their finding. And it held across every participant in the fermented food group, regardless of age, baseline gut health, or dietary history going into the trial. 1 tablespoon of raw sauerkraut, the thing your great-grandmother kept in a crock on the kitchen counter, outperformed a structured, high-fiber dietary intervention on microbial diversity in a peer-reviewed Stanford trial published in one of the most cited scientific journals in the world. Drop in the comments. Have you already been doing this? Because if you have, I want to know exactly what changed and when you noticed it. What you're looking at is not a gap in nutritional science. The science has been clear since the 2010 patent filing. What you are looking at is a regulatory system that classified an antibiotic as a pesticide, approved it for use on the food supply for 30 years, and then watched as the global probiotic supplement industry built its entire business model on selling you back the gut health that the pesticide destroyed. 2 industries, 1 mechanism, both worth tens of billions of dollars. 1 winner. And it is not you. You now know what $63 billion and $61 billion both depend on you never connecting. Go look for yourself. Then go buy some cabbage. In that order. The ancient Romans fermented cabbage and issued it to their legions as a standard field ration, specifically because it kept soldiers' digestion stable on long campaigns through unfamiliar water and food supplies. They did not know what a microbiome was. They did not know what lactobacillus was. They knew what worked. Pliny the Elder documented the practice in 77 AD. 2,000 years later, a Stanford randomized controlled trial confirmed what a Roman general already knew to pack for his soldiers before they marched. The question is whether you're going to wait another 30 years for the label on your oatmeal to catch up to what the Roman legions figured out before the birth of modern medicine.